Hello, everybody. It's again Constellation TV time with the fabulous Miller Müller show. I'm here with my co-host Liz. Liz, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, Holger. I'm doing well. But I got a question for you. Are we related?
Oh.
Like, I know that I've become like your adopted sister you never wanted. Like, I get that. But like,
from another mother, the sister
right,
from another
exactly.
mother, yeah.
But like, Mueller's kind of like the most common last name in Germany, isn't it?
Totally. I mean, it helps that the Smiths in Germany have 5 to 6 different ways of spelling Smith in German, right? Because normally every little village had a Smith. A Miller is very little more special than Smiths because only 2-3 would be a mill, right? So that made us more special. But because there's only one way of spelling Miller in German, Müller with the umlaut, it's the most common last name in Germany, but also in Switzerland and in Austria. And I haven't checked for Luxembourg or the German-speaking part of Belgium. So,
well, we're going to get on that for the next episode.
That's right. Yeah, there's always something to do.
All I know is that my family may have wanted to stay in Germany because the first relative to come to America was in the 1730s, and he did not meet a friendly end. He didn't. He and a business partner apparently started a farm together, and in West Virginia, and Indians attacked the farm. They shot him on the spot, kidnapped the other farmer, and burned him at the stake. Fun American trivia, right? So, but
not
the Millers
invited visitors, it seems, right? The locals were not happy with them coming over, right? So,
oddly enough, they didn't appreciate the whole colonization part of that, but. You know, the Millers persevered. We dropped the U and all the confusing punctuation over letters, and we just went with Miller from there on.
Those little dots are cute, right? So cute that I can't use them here because I can't create them on the keyboard anymore. I forgot the ASCII code. That's when you know when you left your home country long enough when you forgot the ASCII code for the special character.
Yeah, you're done. You're done. You're out. Yeah. But, you know, hey, we got to get to the news because some stuff has been happening. You know, so the last time we hosted the show was about a month ago. Our colleagues, Doug and Nicole, hosted last time. They got to break the whole Amazon Andy Jassy news. But, you know, from my perspective, I'm not going to lie. It's kind of been a little sleepy. Yeah, okay, everyone's doing DDoS attacks. There's a whole lot of ransomware. SolarWinds still a thing, right? There's now a payload. There's like 30,000 Macs infected with some malware that doesn't have a payload. So that's a sleeper cell waiting to happen.
Add a little more to my favorite topic of the Apple tax.
Right? See, you know, we're going to pull that string, you know, but
we could do a whole show about the Apple tax, but we don't do that.
But let's not. We're going to go on to something else. So in my world, listen, I'm going to go real fast because you got far more interesting stuff to talk about. You know, basically, Facebook has decided to unfriend like the world. So it's like Australia's out, you know, everyone else out. We got new ID standards. Everybody wants one. Everyone's going to make one. We got no cookie. Now we got ATT. It's kind of crazy, but it's been like a sustained crazy. But we've had some cool announcements that have come out, certainly from another thing that takes up a whole lot of our time here at Constellation, Analyst Days.
But before we go to those lists, I mean, the interesting thing is, news organizations have been struggling and if not dying and closing since 10 plus years, right? I mean, one of the coming out surprising thing was me when I came to the US in '99. I asked my manager at Oracle, how much can I spend on professional education, meaning subscriptions?
Yeah.
And he looked at me, why? And said, well, I would like to get a subscription for this and this and this. He said, just register. And I said, what? So in Germany in '99, you would pay for Computer World. Right here, you would just say, hey, I'm a VP at Oracle, and boom, that comes delivered. Right?
Or someone would call you and ask you if they could send it to your junk email.
They didn't ask me, so they just sent it. But that's a long time that this has been going on. So is it the Waterloo, right, the last stand of the media industry against the social industry, or is this the comeback time of content producers? What's your take, Liz?
I think it depends on which side of the river you sit on, right? So if you're on the Google side, of the banks, you go directly negotiate with the largest media publishers that you want to be associated with your brand.
Yep.
At Facebook, who's also going to go over in the corner and have a lot of ATT, a whole lot of mobile issues, a lot of app issues, a lot of privacy issues. This feels like an extra fight that they are waging because I don't know if it's like a whole angry against the world thing, but there has to be some negotiation. Yeah, the rules in Australia, probably not time for legislators to start to get involved in what news is and is not, but it's also not time for Facebook to try to figure out when its algorithm does or does not work when it's trying to monitor content. So if you're monitoring content one day and it can't pick up hate speech, but it miraculously can pick up news the next, you have to start wondering who's programming down in the basement. But I think a lot of stuff is going to start to come to pass. The thing that I got fired up about over the last couple of weeks was some really interesting moves that are happening around content, actually, not even just around journalistic content, but the assets that we call content. So we're starting to see a lot of attention and love being paid, whether it is across evolutions of content management systems or something that I like to damn well talk about. We'll get to that a little bit later. What's been top of mind for you, Holger?
Well, the interesting thing is, I mean, even so, Nicole and Doug talked about this, right? The question is, do you have to be the head of cloud to become the CEO, not only of Amazon, but also of Microsoft, right? Because that's also the history of Satya Nadella coming from the Azure side. I guess we will only know that when Thomas Kurian becomes the CEO of Google, right? Not to start any rumors here, but that would be, totally. Somebody must be thinking about this at the moment right now. There must be some similarity. And actually, Apple and IBM too, right? So Arvind Krishna was in charge of the AI and the cloud parts, right? So there seems to be a red flag that cloud is the fast way into the CEO position.
Absolutely. I think it's the same thing. You and I talked about it last time we were together here. Product is the fastest way, it seems like, into the tech CMO seat as well. You got to come from that strong product management backgrounds. The big branders have started to kind of go back to their branding heritage, and certainly IBM is no different. So you start to see some really solid, savvy product marketers who have built the integration and the messaging around cloud, now starting to also take those seats right next to those cloud CEOs. So I think a lot is interesting, but is this one of those Me Too moments, Holger? Is everyone kind of doing it? Like, I got to go get me a cloud guy.
The other question is, what will Apple do, right? Because Apple has no cloud. Who's going to succeed Tim Cook? The classic path is not there, right? So so that's a big question on that part. But it's also earnings season, right? And I comment lots of earnings, right? So interesting, Dropbox, right? Coming back to the one feature company, has breached the 2 billion run rate. So pretty good one feature, right? Aided, of course, by people working from home and more stuff having to manage. The interesting thing in their earnings numbers, they took an almost $500 million charge to extricate themselves from their offices. Right, so because obviously you have long-term office leases, right? Who would have thought before that people would be working from home? They said you can work from home for forever. They don't need these offices, right? But no landlord today is saying, oh, you don't want to move out? Don't worry about this. No, you have to pay pretty hefty penalties, like 30, 40, 50% of the rent if you can afford it as a shiny tech company. So the new way of working has some price, right? So that was an interesting one to see on the earnings side. For the first time, seeing a price tag on that one. So
that's super
interesting. The big one is Google doing developer announcement of Android. Quel numero? What number? Putting you on the spot?
I don't know. Like 27? Are we up to 113?
Here's my visual hint.
Oh, 3. I don't know. What are we going with?
You just did 12. 12, of course. Just kidding. So Android 12 is in developer preview. Very solid release across the board. They keep working on notifications. They added some video formats, right? Videos, more engagement. It can be processed on the CPU directly there. And a bunch load of other things, all to try to move more Android device to quicker upgrade on the same version. That you don't only get this on your Pixel devices, right? So.
Well, I'm just gonna throw this out there. Funniest story of last week has to be when BlizzCon Online had Metallica playing their closing concert. And what happened when Twitch played the stream? Holger?
I'm proud to announce that I have a Twitch account now, which has nothing on there, just to secure that, but no.
Well, don't play any Metallica because they're going to take that off and put some royalty-free music over it so you don't actually get nailed by that. It's not so much that they did it, Holger, that made a lot of waves in the community. It was the fact that they dubbed over folk music. So if you do really want a good time and want to see what happens when Metallica meets folk, go ahead and see those YouTube clips of what happened on Twitch.
They probably need to work on the AI to find the next license-free music, which kind of like goes in the direction, right? So
yeah,
there is no license-free Metallica music.
There isn't. Well, isn't that the irony, considering they were the guys with...
I mean, in heavy rock, whatever. What is Metallica? Punk rock, heavy rock, whatever, some kind of rock. Maybe there is no license-free one. These guys are up to their IP, the intellectual property, it seems.
Yeah. Well, anytime we have to talk about piracy, we always seem to have to talk about Metallica. But you know what? Anytime we're on Constellation TV, we always get a chance to hear from some really great innovators and from some folks who are kind of looking into the future. And last episode, we got an opportunity to spend a little time in a conversation with Ray Wang and Greg Lotko, SVP over at Broadcom. And in that conversation, Holger, I don't know if you managed to get it, but he did say that the future of IT has to be business-based. Oh, like, yes, thank you very much.
I haven't heard that before, but
I know, but it's absolutely sage advice. And we're going to go now, cut back over to Ray for a little bit more.
Hi, I'm Ray Wang. Welcome to Constellation TV. Welcome back to part 2 of my conversation with Greg Lotko, SVP and GM of Broadcom Software. In our last episode, we learned that the future of IT is really about business first. Business outcomes matter more than technology. More organizations are adopting Agile and DevOps. At the same time, the attack surfaces are increasing as IT becomes much more exposed. We talked a lot about how automation is finally hitting its stride as it becomes the next source of value. And finally, we hit on skills. Skills matter more than ever, and today's workforce is more flexible in learning and adopting than ever. So today, we're going to jump in and focus all on the cloud, investing in the cloud, adopting in the cloud. But much of the core data and business logic in organizations, they're sitting in mainframes. Yes, in mainframes. And yep, this is actually going to be an interesting conversation about what do we do next. Let's find out if and how the mainframe still has a role in any of this.
All right, so the trends are there. We talked about them: agile, security, skills, automation. But here's the thing. My clients are cloud. Your clients are mainframe.
Everybody wants to talk about cloud, right? Cloud, we talked about history at the beginning of this, right? First, it was this technology, then it was that technology, then the next one. And every subsequent technology was going to be the be-all, end-all. Cloud is fabulous for certain workloads and certain capabilities that you want to put out there. But, you know, just as we talk through history that these other technologies haven't gone away, they've continued to be invested in. I don't believe the future is about all cloud. It isn't this platform or that platform or cloud. It's this and cloud. How do you leverage the strengths and technologies of each platform to work together to drive the best outcome? Because at the end of the day, none of the customers, none of the people that are being served by technology or businesses in the world care at all what the technology is underneath. They care about the customer experience. And you're going to drive the best customer experience if you're using the right technology in the right place, right? You don't take a Corvette to Lowe's or Home Depot to pick up those 2x6s, right? You take a truck. So what my customers are doing are figuring out how to make it a mainframe and cloud environment.
So you see it as a hybrid environment.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's a hybrid IT environment using multiple technologies, you know, the best fit process or processor, right, for the task.
What about customer experience? When we talk about the value and having great customer experiences, you know, I mean, mainframe is back office.
So whenever everybody thinks about customer experience, they think about the front end. They think about the show, not the go. But is there a show without the go? No. Never, right? So what is true customer experience about? The true customer experience is about understanding that customer, understanding the products they've looked at, understanding what's driving their desires, understanding their patterns of what they buy with what. And that's all about the data. And the vast majority of data in the world, business data in the world, is on mainframe, which again brings us to why it is so absolutely critical of tying these technologies together. And that's what drives the best customer experience.
But wait, mainframe skills are aging. So who's building this stuff? Who's coding this stuff?
Are you not aging?
I am aging.
I'm aging. So everybody talks about the mainframe skills aging. Everybody in the world ages and they say, hey, there's a problem with attracting skills. There's a problem with attracting people to the platform. It absolutely isn't the case. I mean, one of the wonderful things about us being acquired by Broadcom was the massive investment that we had in our mainframe division. And we've done a ton of hiring. In the first year alone, we had over 4,000 unique candidates apply to our positions. Wow. Over 4,000. So anybody who says you can't find people who are interested in the mainframe, they're just patently wrong. It's not the case. So then it becomes about skills. It becomes about building up those skills. If you've got interest, you've got that receptacle, you've got somebody who wants to learn and work in the platform, you have to be able to train them. And you look at the investments we've made in that space with residency programs, with taking online education out to our customers and saying, hey, we're going to make this available at no cost if you've got a license to this software, working with the Open Mainframe Project, working with other vendors in the ecosystem and consortiums to help drive the skills. Skills are not an issue. We just need to focus on it. We need to be able to invest. We need to make sure people know where that training is in order to get it.
Now, we still see a lot of risk, though, thinking about the future investment into a mainframe. So where are you seeing that?
So you worry about risk because you're worried about who in the ecosystem is investing in the platform. Clearly, IBM continues to invest heavily in the mainframe platform. I mean, they haven't missed a beat. You go back the last decade or more, they've been churning out a new mainframe platform every 2 to 3 years. They're continuing to invest. If you look at what we're doing with Broadcom coming in, we have greatly expanded our investment in the mainframe space. And that investment has manifested itself not only in us hiring folks to work on our teams, but working with our customers in the marketplace to help them be more successful.
This is where it gets confusing. Broadcom, I mean, they're a semiconductor firm.
They're a chip company, right? What do they know about software?
Yeah, what do they know about software?
You know, think about it. Broadcom was already in the large enterprises in the world, whether it be content that was in the mainframe hardware, whether it be in networking gear, whether it be in storage devices. What Broadcom was looking to do was to get more of a direct relationship with the large enterprises in the world. As a chip, company, what they were doing was delivering it through somebody else's assembly or end product. Yeah. Right. It was the technology that's inside. But by acquiring companies that are in the enterprise software space, CA Technologies, they're investing all around the largest enterprises in the world. So they're so much more than a chip company. They're actually a large enterprise technology provider across chips, hardware, and now today software we're more than 2 years in now. Connecting everything.
All right, connecting everything. But how does that make you different then?
Actually, I think we're very different. We're absolutely focused on the partnership with our customers. This acquisition gave us the opportunity to be able to step back and think about, what is it that's holding up our customers? What are their challenges? What are the opportunities that they're trying to take advantage of in their business? Clearly, we're investing heavily in helping our customers build skills, but there's a whole host of value-based programs that we launched. Think about the idea when folks are trying to save money on their overall investment, and we're investing side by side with them with services that will help them reducing that time it takes to get that return on investment. But last, but certainly not least, one of the things that I think is very unique about us as a partner is how deeply we embrace open, which, for a software provider sounds really odd, right? I mean, why would you embrace open so much when what you're trying to do is sell and maintain your relationship with your proprietary software? The reality is no software in any environment sits in isolation. The idea is all about connecting to other processes, to customers, to vendors, to partners, right? And the way you do that most successfully is by being open.
So everyone's talking about open. You started talking about that. There's open, and then there's really open. How are you different?
Yeah, so we have an open first strategy, right? And that is so much more than when folks think about open, a lot of times the first thing they think about is, well, open means I totally use open source tools. No, that's not the panacea. Customers have built up processes, they've built up automation, they've built up all sorts of things around these technologies. So Open is about, yes, investing in open source tools, but figuring out how to use them in concert and in coordination with your other technologies to make it easier for you to tie these technologies together. And it's really important in that instance to truly be open, to open up your APIs. A lot of times when people talk about APIs, they'll say, oh, I did my API to Git or to this or to that, to point technologies. That's not open. That's those same brittle connections that people were doing in the 80s and the 90s. But if you do a truly open API and you publish that, you're preparing yourself for what the next new technology is going to be. We want to make sure those different open source technologies can interact with our software. So absolutely, we contribute to those open source technologies so that we don't have that burden on our customers.
But if somebody was thinking about this, listening to it, I mean, their perception of mainframe is it's secure because it's not connected, it's not open, and now you're opening it up?
So that's a falsehood to begin with, right? I mean, think about it. Everybody thought of mainframes first, or predominantly thinks about mainframes in the financial services industry. All right. So when you go up to an ATM, is there a mainframe sitting there behind the brick wall or behind the machine? It's not. It's always been connected, but it's been connected to a private or a public network and architecture, right? Which had very brittle, well-defined connections. Open doesn't say that I'm going to make it less secure. I'm just going to make it easier for me to connect the different things together.
So, all right, you counted a lot of the interesting myths and perceptions that my clients might have about mainframe coming from the cloud side. We're starting to see kind of the convergence that is happening. So I definitely see that there's a future coming here, right? And this future is actually happening not just in 2021, but in the next 3 to 5 years, where people are changing out their architectures, thinking about what's next. And it seems like doing agile, getting security in place, getting automation in place, thinking about skills is going to be some of the top trends we're going to see.
The most successful corporations today are integrating these technologies and using the right technology for the right piece of the workload. And I do believe you'll see that accelerating. Certainly as folks hear about the successes of others doing it, garnering and reaping the value of the investments they've made in the past, making sure that the investments they're making for the future aren't just about migrating from one platform to another, but about adding value to the process and adding value to their customers.
You're right. Business value is where we start, and then how we choose the technologies have to follow.
Absolutely.
Well, this has been great and insightful, thinking about where we are heading to the future. Thanks for being here.
It's been a lot of fun. Thanks for having me, Ray.
Welcome back. So you can see these new trends are definitely taking place. If you have a hybrid strategy thinking about the cloud and mainframe for transformation, these are some of the most important points. 1, there's a path to sustainable mainframe workforce. Cloud developers can also be mainframe developers. You have to embrace open and DevOps approaches. And then the idea of modernizing in place and providing direct access to the mainframe resources, it's far more beneficial and less risky than just shifting to the cloud. And finally, we're seeing where Broadcom is making some significant investments and is committed to customer success and the long-term viability of the platform. People are using the mainframe in digital transformation. And more importantly, thank you for watching this. So this is it. We will catch you later on Constellation TV.
Hello, everybody. It's Holger Müller here talking to you about one of the big mysteries which people can be asking me about, especially my colleagues. What are next generation applications all about? Well, it's time to talk about this a little more in detail because we can't leave this open question going on. It's my research area, so I should know more about this. So what is this really about? Let me make this a little bigger. And why, Holger, isn't that always been a next generation application? We had the mainframe, we went to medium data range, we went to client server, went to internet architecture and so on. Well, let me explain to you why now something is really different. What is happening is that we're very well used to that technology is always behind best practices. Technology cannot do better things than best practice demand. But in the last 5, 6, 7 years, we've seen that for the first time ever in technology, being computer technology, has overtaken the demands of business best practices. And that meant an adoption in the pace of business best practices. We're seeing right now that enterprise acceleration, things have to move faster, innovation of business models and so on. And we see 4 phases: the legacy phase, everybody's comfortable in that. The inflection phase where people realize, ooh, this is going on. the opportunity phase where people are doing things which disrupt what's happening in their markets. And then there's going to be a catch-up phase where I think universities will teach about how to do business in the 21st century. So what is coming next then? What's powering this? What's powering this is effectively infinite computing. What is infinite computing? It's 5 layers. Infinite connectivity. We know the internet is there, changes everything. Infinite insights. We can store all the information we want and ask all the questions we want. There's no longer stupid questions to ask. That all is powered by infinite compute, typically coming from the cloud, and that enables infinite machine learning. I don't want to call it AI here, and ultimately will drive us to infinite deep learning, where the systems learn by themselves without our involvement. So what does it mean now for what next generation applications have to do? What includes them? What is in them, part of them? So first of all, I'm not so happy a word 2 years ago I called quantum grade security. I don't mean quantum technology, quantum ready, but quantum, the best level of security. Security is very important for these things. We know this. They have to be ready, and mostly of them are running in the public cloud. They have to have a component of big data. Can store anything, can ask for anything. They have to be non-monolithic. What does this mean? They have to offer multiple ways of doing things. So there's not the classic problem of customization of doing one thing that's bigger, bigger, bigger. People can't upgrade. Customers, vendors can't keep mind of that. And then it has to empower autonomous decisions. It means it has to be self-driving. It needs an ITL. Hey, what is that? Not an ETL, an injection transformation layer. As these things are being built in the cloud, many things will still be residing on premises and need to be powered and need to be run from there. So it has to inject into the older system, and it needs a modern, human, intuitive, not just the keyboard and the mouse user interface. So what are the use cases for that? What are companies doing? They make sense of the internet scale things to make sense, to find opportunities, leads, talent. They revolutionize intra-enterprise function. That's the classic way of ERP, but not doing it in the classic way of ERP, which was misdesigned kind of like. It's data as a service, which means how do you access data, sell data, broker data, use data? Very interesting as a service offering, which is coming up. Orchestrate things. I can say that's IoT. I just want to call like this with whatever. Digitize your value chain, right? That's the opposite of inter-enterprise function. It's all along your value chain. And I forgot it here, your supply chain. Reinvent communications, do and work things in a different way. And last but not least, innovate the human-machine interface. So what does it mean? It's all powered by infinite computing. What can companies do? They need to build this in-house. This has not been found out. We're in the new mainframe as there's experimentation. You have to do it yourself. What do enterprises do if they can't do it themselves? They call for the help of system integrators. Of course, they can help them doing this for them. There are startups which might be jumping on the bandwagon and building things new for the first time. There's vendors who might be coming soon with something up which reflects the 21st century best practices. And last but not least, companies might have even built something so great like this, and they say, hey, let's spin this off. Let's sell this to become a software company themselves. And this is a strategy continuum, which is all across the space. So next generation apps is about platforms where to build this, tools which build that, best practices how to do that, partners who can help you implement this, vendors who are providing these things, and of course, use cases for that. So with that, I really, really hope that the big question mark is now a little smaller question. Thanks for listening. Appreciate it. Welcome back, everybody. Actually, Liz, remind me next time that I check my eyebrows, because in my segment Next Generation Apps, I had my eyebrows hanging down because of the problems of going to the hairdressers, which also fixed my eyebrows. Maybe that was on the NDA. But
I'm going to be sending
so
a giant
remind me that I look good next time, okay?
Okay.
We're going to talk about not eyebrows, but shortlists, because we practice enterprise acceleration and Constellation research and new best practices. We want to save time, have people move faster. Don't look at 100 vendors in the space, don't look at 50, but look at our shortlist, which should be around a dozen vendors max, ideally less, which are vetted. We know, we get briefed by them. And we thought we'd do something funny, right? You pick one of me, I pick one of you. We don't know which one it is, right? To make it interesting. So I'm going to start, if you're ready.
Okay.
Oh, no, you're starting, I think.
I'm starting. Okay.
Oh my God.
Next-gen computing platforms, go.
Next generation computing platforms are all about moving workloads seamlessly from the cloud to on-premises. They include a number of vendors like the usual substacks. Now I have to make sure that I have them all here. But they definitely include Amazon, which has just strengthened their offering with Outpost. They, of course, include Google with Anthos. They include Microsoft and Microsoft Stack and Microsoft Arc. They include Oracle with Cloud at Customer. They also include IBM with Cloud Satellite, which I have to write up the offering overview. Some of these things move so fast. And I recently added Nutanix to them, which offers the same thing. And now they're all moving to support things cross-cloud.
Nice.
Right, my turn. I earned something which I have lots of experience with, which is earned media management. Is that when I get paid for my research?
No, it means that that a brand doesn't have to pay for your media.
It's free.
See, it's free. Well, it's not always free, but there's always a transaction. But listen, hey, 2020 was a year that earned media got really hot again, because as everyone started looking for influencers, we couldn't go out to events. We couldn't go out and try to figure out who we could talk to. We're meeting with peers. Earned media became a really important place for people to start to collectivize what folks were saying about them in the media. So these platforms, listen, you got your top ones and you got your usual suspects, like your Cisions, your Meltwaters, but you've also got folks that are coming up, like your Muckracks, your Notified, your Prowleys, your Agility PR. These are all solutions that aren't just taking your press releases and shoving them out the door and spray and praying onto journalists, right? We're starting to see some real thinking that kind of takes that same marketing automation smarts and applying it to journalist lists, right? Are we delivering relevant content? What's happening at the end of that? How are we keeping up with those relationships? So the interesting thing about earned media management is we're starting to see that relationship building is starting to take the front seat instead of just press release delivery. So kudos on them. Okay.
I've never heard of these companies, to be honest.
See, you gotta go. You gotta go. Like, welcome to my world, Holger. It's a lot of fun over here, bud.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about the fanciful and unicorn-filled world of DevOps.
DevOps, right? It should be ASO, right? Automated software operation. That's where my vision goes. That software writes itself, releases itself, tests itself, gets live itself, also takes it out itself if it's no longer used, right? And it's the typical suspects there. We have 11 vendors on the shortlist. Let me try to put them in a sentence. So once Atlassian and met Jeff, they went to see the Cloud Bees with Mr. Jenkins, who in a Copado ran into digital AI, of course, and they went into the GitLab where they found HashiCorp, which together with Microsoft did a GitHub, which they found to find a new relic, which looked like a puppet, but was vagrant, which shouldn't be separate actually, because also part of HashiCorp. That's the 11 vendors in code speak in DevOps. Now you know exactly who they are.
I feel like you were going to start rapping there. Like, I feel like you were about like this close. Like
this close, but I can only do that in German or Italian, not in English.
Okay. What's next?
Okay, let me think what I take. There's so many here. I think I'll take, damn, that's a hard one to leave, right? Digital asset management for digital experience. Too digital squared list, right?
Right, but you have to learn how to say damn correctly.
Damn.
It's got to be damn, because I got my damn short list and the damn vendors, and I can't adult. It's really the reason why I wanted this short list so bad. But I actually think for me, this is probably one of the short lists that I get the most excited about, because when it comes to all these big conversations that marketers want to have about things like experience, digital experiences, digital transformation, how we relate to the customer, all those big kind of headlines that we love to hear about on stage, it gets really real when it comes to damn.
I'm excited about this. You're accelerating your words per second, which is remarkable. Damn, man.
It's got to go there, right? So it's how do you get all those assets in one place? How can you edit them easily? How can you make them relevant for your customer? And how do you actually make them federated across your organization? So it's super exciting. The brands on here, some of the folks that you would expect, your Adobe, their assets solution, love it. Aprimo, Brandfolder. Aprimo is certainly interesting because, they're the heritage MRM, marketing resource management solution that is now a digital asset manager. Brandfolder and Binder. Canto is a legacy solution on here. Cloudinary, Cloudinary's out there killing it with things like video. So they're a super interesting look. Widen Collective, these are folks that used to print plates on paper, a really long time ago, and now they're in digital asset management and they know how to do it really, really well. But I'm going to tell you the new addition to my list this year that might raise some eyebrows because it is not your grandfather's solution is Oracle CX Content. I did not have them on the list last time. I put them on this time because you know what? They are integrating that across a true CX suite going across sales, marketing, and support. And I
was going to say, what have they done to deserve it? But you took the answer to the question already.
Okay, Holger, I'm coming for you. Next-gen databases.
Next-gen databases, right? And it's the on-premise part where people say, ooh, why would it be on-premise, but on-premise? Right. And as an analyst, you can't only have the sexy stuff. So Doug Henshin has the online cloud ones, right? So I have this stinking old on-premises one, which still make a lot of money and a lot of infrastructures running them. So if you look for them, it's just 7. It's, of course, IBM DB2. It's Microsoft SQL Server. It's also MongoDB, surprise, right? Such a young company on premises, right? It's, of course, the market leader Oracle database. And SAP is in there twice with the old Sybase database, aka ASE, and of course HANA with their memory part. And then someone who can kind of like back from the deathbed, being originally a hardware appliance vendor, Teradata with Vantage.
Teradata hit a couple of your lists. They seem to catch your eye this year.
They're turning around from being the hardware company which didn't make it to the cloud to transforming into a software company, which they deserve kudos for, because not many companies manage to do this transformation, right? If you look at the road who has managed to build a cloud infrastructure, tons of IT companies like Cisco, like Dell, and so on, it's nowhere to be found, right?
I like it. I like it.
Let me pick what I do next for you, right? And that is, I think, social advertising management.
Social advertising management. Listen, I know we got a little time left, so I'm going to lump these two in together. Social advertising management is really taking care of those assets and personalizing them across the social networks. Social listening is when you're basically listening to all the different conversations. Two platforms don't necessarily do the same thing. So it's super important when you're looking at a social advertising management solution that you're really looking at that outbound, how you're managing those buys, how you're managing your advertising. Some of the folks on there, Adspresso, Kenshu, Marin, Sprinkler, they have been on there before and they've been out and about before. I really like pointing out folks like Smartly.io because, hey, you may know some of the people over there, like folks like Robert Rothschild, who have a long history way back in the day at Oracle. But what Smartly is actually doing is really came from a heritage of both video and a whole lot of TAM assets, actually. And they're creating a really smart way to create really relevant and repeatable advertising across social networks. So I know we kind of had that lightning round there. But
I need to ask you a specialist, can I consume an espresso with a sprinkler of Tenchu?
Maybe, but it wouldn't be as good as if you had some MongoDB on top of it.
Yeah, that definitely makes it much, much cooler ASC.
Of course it does. All we have to do is Snowflake. Yeah. Exactly. Well, listen, that's all the time we have, guys. We have to wrap this up. We had a lot of fun talking about shortlists. And for the rest of the shortlist from us and all of our colleagues, you can go to constellationnr.com/shortlist.
Well, this was fun like always, Liz. Thanks for being here. Better half of Müller, always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure. Maybe next time we'll just watch old reruns of that show.
Exactly. We need to find a way to how we go around the IP restrictions for it.
That is true. But hey, listen, everyone, you can follow us on Twitter at ConstellationR or on LinkedIn and use the hashtag CRTV. We're coming at you twice a month, Wednesdays at 9 a.m. See you next time, guys.
Thanks for watching.
What's up, everyone? Holger's got his iced tea.
No, it's not.
What? What is it? What the hell is it, Holger? Hold it straight. I hear. Hold at your finger. What is it? Green tea. Green iced tea. Refill.
Green tea lemonade. Free refill.
Wow, fancy.
Free refill. Yeah, free refill. Complain about that cap again. What did you do? How'd you get a free refill at a Starbucks? They know you. They're like, oh, it's Holger. Give him more.
They know me because I'm a very good tipper. No, but seriously, every tea. Well, I tip $1 on a free drink.
Oh, see.
So if you want to make your day, buy a Trenta, and the same day, if you theoretically stay on premises, but this is why you tip $1, right? The refill with a gold card, which you of course have after 50 days of ordering the drink, is free.
I'm working all day, and I look up anime here. You know, like, what the hell?
Oh no! Now you just got to do the Naruto run everywhere you go.
Yes.
Just every time. Yeah, exactly. You got to do this a lot when you're about to. And then you got to go like, ooh.
You're too fast then.
Reagan straight up, anytime she needs to run across like the living room, she just gets straight Naruto run going, and she just like.
So how's that?
Look at that! See, now you're all business up front.
You would never know.
Who needs a haircut? Who needs to risk their life for a haircut? Come on, who's so vain? Risk their life for a haircut.
I don't know.
That's what Nevada's for, man. I go there all the time for a haircut.
Are you out of jail, man?
Haircut.
I went to Vegas for a haircut. I went to Reno for a haircut. Like honestly, all my haircuts have been in Nevada. I gotta teach the kids how to give me a haircut.
We're gonna get rid of the Reno sign. It's not gonna say best little. What is it? Best little city in the West or biggest little. What is Reno's damn tagline anyway? It's a sign like over the main street, but now it can say where Ray gets his haircut.
Best small city, biggest little city in the world, right?
Something like that, yeah.
Biggest little city in the world. You gotta love it.
Biggest little city in the world.
See, and now also known as where Ray gets his haircut.
Nothing like a little Zelda Forest music to make you happy.
Dude, did you see that? It was flipping hysterical. Like they're in there, like Metallica's like rocking out, and it's like, what is happening? What is going on Twitch right now? Right.
Did they not secure the distribution rights of Metallica on Twitch? Or
No, they just well, basically Twitch has like the automatic, like if it's like, yeah, they just.
Oh, that's just trust anybody, right? So it's democratization of IP. Even if you pay for it, you cannot play it.
Right. BlizzCon paid Metallica handsomely. Like they were like everywhere else played it live, and there's Twitch. Like, right.